In the back of the book segment tonight, media bias in overdrive. As we mentioned earlier, a new Rasmussen poll finds that a majority of likely voters believe that most reporters will work to re-elect President Obama. 47% believe that media bias is a bigger problem in politics today than big campaign contributions. 42% said it's the other way around. So I asked NBC political reporter Chuck Todd about the pervasive view that the media establishment is in the tank for Obama.
The real media bias is geographic. I've always believed that. It is because the media industrial complex is located in New York City. That's why there are cultural biases built into the media. I've always believed that, but it's less political than people think it is.
Joining us now from Alexandria, Virginia, Rich Noyes. He's from the Media Research Center, a conservative media watchdog group. Okay, Rich, well, Chuck Todd was a stand-up guy to come on my show today and discuss these new poll numbers and also just this growing sense that the media, they're all going to vote for Obama and they're all going to try to help him. I mean, 51% in that Rasmussen poll believe that. What did you think about his answer? That's really a fact that all these media people live in New York that causes the bias. It's no political deal.
Well, I think living all together in New York is part of the problem, but it's almost as if he thinks that's not under the media's control. They can decide where to put their headquarters. CNN decided a headquarters years ago in Atlanta just to get around that problem. No, the real problem is the media, by and large, are staffed with liberals far in excess of the way the country looks. The last time Pew did a survey on this was 2004. They found 34% of journalists described themselves as liberal versus 7% who said they were conservatives, a 5-to-1 advantage. And I think by then journalists were wise to those polls and they were all calling themselves moderate. But if you look at the country is 40% conservative, 20% liberal. The newsrooms of America, the newsrooms of New York do not look at all like America, and the journalists don't think like America. They don't have the same political attitudes and values as Americans, and that's why the news is so skewed.
Yeah, and so you look at the survey, the Gallup survey from May shows that 51% of Americans identify themselves as pro-life. I mean, I think a lot of those think there should be some exceptions to no abortion rule, but nevertheless call themselves pro-life. But you would never get that in reading so many of the so-called mainstream journals out there, because most of the reporters are for abortion rights, they're for gay marriage, they're for raising taxes on the rich, and on a whole host of issues where the country is either skewing slightly to the right or evenly divided, they are like 90-10 the other way. So when you're 90-10, you're not going to engender a lot of confidence that you're going to hold both sides accountable.
Well, that's right, and the public sees this. I mean, Slate did a poll, and they're the only one that polled their own journalists in 2008. 96% voted for Obama. Rasmussen last time around found massive majorities of the public understood journalists were trying to help Barack Obama. This time around, by a 5-to-1 margin, more than 5-to-1 margin, people understand the media are out there to help Barack Obama in this campaign, too, even though it's not the hope and change campaign of 2008. They're still getting behind his fear and smear campaign of 2012. I thought it was interesting that people are split on whether media bias is worse than campaign cash or not. You know, you pick up papers, you read the newspaper, or you pick up the papers, you watch television news, you always are hearing people talking about how evil campaign cash is, but you never hear editorials about media bias except on a, you know, we put it out, this network talks about it from time to time, but it's something for people to bring that out on their own. They must really be seeing it.
47% believe it's a bigger problem than political contributions. And when you look, Rich, at this, the New Democrat attempt to, again, deviate away from the economy and get back on this war on women narrative, very divisive, trying to stoke gender discontent with the Republicans, I think that the media bias lens is very important. I think a lot of folks look right through this, and they look right to, wait a second, my pocketbook issues, how am I going to keep my kids' tuition bills paid? I think they're worried about those bread butter issues, but you'd never know it by watching some of our friends on the other cable channels.
Oh, yeah, the economy, I mean, Chuck Todd, in the same interview, talked about how they really don't do a good job of covering the economy. It's undercovered, but you deal with the campaign you've been handed. I remember back in 1992 when the economy was in better shape than it is now. Unemployment was lower. GDP was stronger. The debt and deficits were much, much lower. The media went to town hammering George H.W. Bush on that economy.
Yeah, it's what they choose.
Hundreds of stories.
They choose to cover these things for a reason, and that's where the bias comes in. Choice of topics. Rich, thanks so much.